All right, you're welcome to this lesson. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm going to be showing you how to solve gap filling questions in IELTS reading. This particular question type is the easiest. I believe it is the easiest type of question in IELTS reading. And if it is the easiest, what it basically means is that you should be able to get all gap filling questions correct. If your target is to get a score of 7.0 or more in IELTS reading, you need to target this particular question type and master it. Learn how to crush all types of gap filling questions. And it's actually very easy to crush them. All right. Now, there are different forms of gap filling questions. Okay, there are different forms of gap filling questions. Some people call them sentence completion questions. Okay, you're going to have a sentence and then you're going to see a word that is missing. There will be a gap, and then your job is to pick a word from the passage and use that word to fill the gap. We call them sentence completion questions. We have what you call fixed gap filling questions. Okay, fixed. I like to call them fixed gap filling questions. In other words, you are not using words in the passage to fill the gap. Rather, you are using words in a box. All right. So you're going to have the questions with gaps in them, and then you're going to have a list of words in a box. So your job is to pick words from the box to fill the gaps. Okay, I call them fixed gap filling questions. Then you have another other formats that you have. You have what you call form completion questions. Those ones require you to complete a form based on the information in the passage. You have charts completion questions. You have diagram labeling questions. You have table completion questions. These are the different, ways that gap filling questions show up. But the strategies for solving them are the same. The strategies, the steps are the same. All right. So here you can see the different types of gap filling questions. All right. Look at type one. That's a very common type. This one is called a summary completion question. So my job is to pick one word or two words from the passage to fill these gaps, to fill gap 27, to fill gap 28, to fill gap 29, to fill gap 30, and gap 31. So my job is to read the passage and decide the most appropriate word to be used to fill the gaps. That's for type 1. For type 2, my job is to use the words in the box. Okay? Difficult, complex, original, admired, material, easy, fundamental. Use any of those words to fill the gaps. How do I know the words to pick? I need to check the passage and understand the information in the passage. All right? Look at the other types here. Chart completion question. That's type 3. That's a chart that you have to complete. And then type 4 is a table completion question. All right. So these are some of the types of gap filling questions I should expect to see. And like I said, they are easy to handle. All right. Now, what are the steps? The first step is to what? Is to identify keywords. What are keywords? Keywords are verbs, adverbs, adjectives, nouns, proper nouns, dates, figures, amounts of money. Those are keywords. Whenever you see those words in the question or in the sentence that has the gap, those words are important. Pay attention to them. All right. So, if, for example, a sentence says, the researchers at the Montreal study discovered that dash was ineffective. All right. Montreal in that sentence that I just read now, Montreal is a proper noun, is the name of a place. Okay, it's a name, it's actually an adjective functioning. It's an adjective that qualifies study. Okay, but it was formed from the name of a place called Montreal. So that Montreal is a keyword for me. I need to go to the passage and look for where the passage talks about Montreal study. So your job is to identify keywords. Proper nouns. Nouns refers to names of people, names of towns, names of items, names of objects. All right. Nouns. And then you have verbs. Verbs are action words. Adjectives are words that qualify nouns. Adverbs are words that qualify verbs. Those words are keywords. Those words are keywords. Okay. Now, after identifying the keyword, the next thing to do is to what? Is to scan through the passage and look for the keyword. Okay. Don't just look for the keyword, look for the paraphrases of the keyword. That's the second step. That's step two. Look for the paraphrases of the keyword. So let's assume that I see school in my sentence. I need to go to the passage and look for school or maybe educational institutions or training centers or academies or colleges. Those are paraphrases of school. A paraphrase is a word that can be used to replace another word. A word or a phrase that can be used to replace another word. Do you understand? Now, step three is to focus read. In other words, once you locate the paragraph or the sentence that contains the keyword, focus on that paragraph. Read it carefully. Focus on that sentence. Read it carefully. Read the sentence before it. Read the sentence after it. Interpret the information and extract the most appropriate word that can be used to fill that gap. That's step three. And then after writing that word inside the gap, after writing that word inside the gap, confirm your answer. That answer must fit in grammatically. Pay particular attention to singular words and plural words. Okay? That word must fit in grammatically. If you read the entire sentence along with the word that you have written inside the gap, the sentence must make sense grammatically. Otherwise, that word is wrong. All right. And then the final step is that what? After you have solved all your gap filling questions for a particular set, mark your work and do self correction. What does that mean? It means that you check the questions that you got wrong and figure out what made your wrong answers wrong and figure out why the correct answers are correct. Okay, any question that you get wrong should be an opportunity to learn how examiners twist things, learn how examiners use paraphrasing, learn how to use synonyms. Synonym is another word for paraphrase. All right, if I say synonym or I say paraphrase, I'm basically talking about the same thing. All right, so when you do self-correction, you will learn how they twist answers, how they hide answers, how they use paraphrasing and different forms of sentence construction to confuse candidates. These are things you need to get used to. All right. Now, how do we address fixed gap filling questions? Those are questions that involve using words in the gap. Okay, for these ones, your job is to identify keywords, scan for the keywords, and then focus on the part of the passage that contains the keyword. And then once you locate the word in the passage that can fit into that gap, it could be a word or it could be a phrase, go to the box and look for the best word that is a paraphrase for the word that you have identified in the passage. All right. So let's say, for example, I see the word blue. Okay, color blue. All right. Let's assume that I saw a word in the passage and that word is blue. Okay. And I think that blue is a good word that can fit into a gap. Okay. And I check the box. Most likely they will not write blue in the box. But if I see in the box, I see a phrase that says a particular color, then that is most likely my answer. A particular color, because blue is a particular color. That's paraphrasing. All right. So they will not use the exact word in the passage. They're going to do paraphrasing for you. Okay. Let me use another example. Let's assume that I see a word like eat in the passage. EAT. EAT in the passage. All right. I think that is the word that can be used to fill that gap. Now I will go and check the box and look for the best paraphrase for heat. Okay, if I see FEED, feed, in the box, then that is a very good paraphrase that can fit into that gap. So that is what I'm saying, that word for fixed gap filling questions, you need to pay attention to paraphrasing. Okay, this particular question type will test your skills of paraphrasing. Hope you understand my point. So these are things I need to take note of. Look at this gap now. Look at this particular set of question now. Look at it. We are not seeing the passage here, but then look at it. The wheel. Do something. Let's do this exercise. The wheel is one invention that has had a major impact on dash aspects of life. Now let's try something here. If you put difficult inside that gap, this is how it will sound. The wheel is one invention that has had a major impact on difficult aspects of life. B, on complex aspects of life. C, on original aspects of life. D, on admired aspects of life. E, on material aspects of life. F, on easy aspects of life. G, on fundamental aspects of life. So you see the way I'm putting in those words in the gap. I need to go and check the passage and see which word will be the best fit. That's what we are doing when it comes to fixed gap filling questions. I need to check the passage and decide on which word would be a best fit. All right. So gap filling questions are very straightforward. They are questions I need to what practice. So these steps that I've given you, you need to apply these steps over and over and over until you get used to them. The more you practice, the better you get.